touch me, touch me, touch me. I like the way she fuck me, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me. Hit it, hit it, hit it, drop. Hit it, hit it, hit it, drop.
What's good with the YouTube? This your boy CJ.
And this your girl RINA.
Make sure y'all subscribe to CJ and RINA. Alright, today we got a reaction video on geography now.
LIMBERWISK.
Guys, don't forget to donate at the bottom so we can keep going. I know y'all guys ready. I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get it.
I just said welcome to Geography Now in this country's native language.
Wow.
It's time to learn geography
now!
Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbs. Welcome to LIMBERWISK. We are back in the Arctic Circle, and this time things are going to get a little quiet. Or should I say, hushed. We'll discuss more on that later. But first, let's see where it lies, shall we? So, shameless self-promotion time. If you've watched any of the Geography Go episodes, you'll know that I've been to the Arctic. Iceland, Greenland, Finland, and just recently Alaska hosting a geography. We were on the news.
They made a really good submission video. It was really good. They really sold this school, and it's in Alaska. Come on, you can't say no to Alaska.
But I have to say, hands down, LIMBERWISK is the one place that puts the icebergs on the map. First of all, the country is located just past the Arctic Circle in the Norwegian Sea, between Greenland and Norway. The country is divided into 5 provinces, 3 on the largest and most inhabited island, Hush, whereas the remaining 2 are on the islands of Lef and Fu. The capital and largest city is otherwise transliterated to Alkali Cloud, located on Cobalt Bay on the eastern Uyarak Peninsula. After Alkali Cloud, the largest towns are Aput and Inek, whereas the largest and only international airport, Alkali Cloud Manek, lies.
Wow.
The country holds sovereignty over 100 smaller islands and islets in the Hush archipelago. However, only about 20 are permanently inhabited. For the longest time, LIMBERWISK had a dispute with Norway over the ownership of Jan Mayen, which lies on the same Atlantic fault line drift as they do. The dormant volcanic Beerenberg summit, known locally as is seen as a sacred site for the inhabitants. The conflict resulted in the Limber Wars, which lasted a full 3 days. And it wasn't even hostile. It was more like, hey Norway, yeah? Can we just have the summit of Beerenberg, please? No. Fine, we'll just illegally sail over there, invade, and camp on the summit until you say yes. Look, guys, we get it, okay? We don't want you to freeze to death. Let's make a deal. And that's how the summit caldera of Beerenberg Peak became an overseas exclave of LIMBERWISK. Getting around LIMBERWISK might be a bit of a challenge due to the rocky mountainous terrain. Only one main highway connects the east to the northwest, whereas the entire western coast is uninhabited due to the terrain and perpetually frozen fjords. Otherwise, most inhabitants might traverse towns through boat or seaplane. Some of the top notable sites of the country might include Alskir ski slopes, Davidland Ice Carnival, the Insuk Polar Bridge, the monument of Malik Burelo, the Nanook Stadium, the Bjarki University Library, and the frozen gulba plantation of southwest Fu Island. And let me tell you, that last one, the gulba plantations, are like the life source of this place. Let's discuss more about that in... Now, on the surface, it might seem like living in the Arctic would be a frozen nightmare. It's cold, hostile, and desolate, but when you zoom in, our planet always seems to have the most interesting tricks up its sleeves in the most remote areas. First of all, much like their neighbors Iceland and Jan Mayen, LIMBERWISK is a geothermal island that lies on the same convergence zone between the North American and Eurasian plates. The tallest peak is the extinct volcano Mount or Mount Kokok, which nearby the largest lake, Lake or Imek, lies, which drains into the longest river, the or Frist River, which eventually empties into the Eastern Bay. The country, much like Iceland, utilizes a network of energy resources powered by various geothermal hotspots found throughout the country. Sustaining such a large population in this area, though, however, requires a lot of improvised survival techniques. For one, food. Like other Arctic regions, the country is limited in flora. Only minor grasses, shrubs, and lichens, and coastal seaweed that grow along the rocky beaches are found there. Therefore, getting proper nutrition is crucial. As a fairly developed nation, of course, people have access to imported groceries. However, these can be kind of expensive. To make up for it, most people have at least one family member or friend that hunts for fish, seal, or muskox. Unlike their Inuit cousins, however, the people here never really were too keen on eating whale, which is like a good source for minerals and vitamins like vitamin C. Instead, they had a secret treasure already hidden in the snow, the famous gulba fruit. This strange alien-like fruit with a citrusy melon-looking rind is actually a large vineberry related to the passion fruit, being one of the only few naturally occurring fruits with a blue color. The strangest thing, though, is that the fruit is adapted to only grow in the snow during wintertime, as any temperature below 3 degrees Celsius triggers the growth hormone in the vine stems to pump out the bulbous delights, known for their tangy yet sweet gelatinous blue cores with tiny seeds that also provide healthy omega-3 fatty acids. The top culinary chefs in the world, like Gordon Ramsay, have been known to express favor towards the a highly sought-after fruit. It can be used as a key ingredient in various haute cuisine dishes. Usually it sells for incredibly high prices on the export sector, making an impressive 11% of the nation's GDP alone. Other national dishes include seaweed sausage, smoked muskox steak, roast puffin with fermented Lingen wine sauce, and roasted sheep cheese. The national animal is the orca, which traditionally was used in their traditional costume, the or wheat, in which the skin was tanned and shrunk into a surprisingly warm, elasticy garment that fits snugly on the skin. They would then top it all off with fur pelts on their torsos and waist. Today, however, most people of course dress in a typical Western attire on a daily basis as the country moves forward into the 20th century with a unique coalescence between Inuit and Nordic undertones, which brings us to... Alright, so a person from Limberwisk is actually surprisingly not called a limberwisker, but rather a hush. Hush. First of all, the population of the country is about 900,000, making Limberwisk the most populated place in the Arctic regions. The country is mostly made up of two main groups, the Kalsh at around 48% and the Kalsh at about 40%. About 10% are mostly Europeans of Nordic descent, like Norwegians and Danes, whereas the remaining 2% are made up of Botswanans and Tongans. They use the Limberwisk krone as their currency, they use the Type Q plug outlet, and they technically drive on the right side of the road, but only through January through July. August to December, they switch it up and drive on the left side. It has something to do with permafrost, I don't know, look it up. The largest group, the Kalsh, or the Kalsh, are kind of like the equivalent to mestizos in the Americas, people who are mixed between indigenous and Europeans. Therefore, the Kalsh are the descendants of native or the Kal people, mixed in with Nordic Vikings that settled in the area in the 1100s. Now, let's talk about two things, language and culture. Limberwisk is the only country in the world to have an official language that does not contain any real vowels. The entire language, known as Hush, is composed of wispy, aspirated consonants and whistle noises that are joined in a series of unique patterns to articulate words. It's even written in a unique script containing 26 wisp letters and 5 quick stop letters. For example, my actual name, Paul, gets translated to saying hello, my name is Paul, would be strange, right? According to oral tradition, the Hush language was actually developed as an underground secret code that the native Kal people could use when subjugated against the Nordic Viking colonists. They had to create a language that would camouflage itself in the deafening blizzard winds of the Arctic, yet still have distinct sounds that could be heard and deciphered if a speaker was listening, which is why all the words more or less imitate the sounds of wind. Over time, peace was made between the two, and the Nordic colonists even picked it up and standardized the new language. In the 1800s, they started teaching it in schools, and even to this day, with subjects taught in Hush from elementary, as schools integrate English around 5th grade. The nation is known for celebrating the unique Aurora Festival, held around mid-January, in which people scream at each other on icebergs while pushing each other in the frozen water, all at night while the first major aurora appears. The last one standing on the iceberg without being dunked is crowned Aurora King or Queen. On Left Island, people also take pride in displaying which house has the longest icicles. Usually these are broken off and used as javelins in the icicle javelin competition in February. Some notable Hush people throughout history might include Malik Burelo, DJ Auskir, Insuk, Bjarki, Andrea, Carlo and Ya, Masana, Mark, David, and finally, Frederick and Christian Elster from the band Nanook have dual citizenship, so they kind of count. Now, with such a fascinating history in society, it kind of makes you wonder, how did such a nation develop in such a hostile environment? Well, it had a lot to do with trade and diplomacy. Which brings us to... Acting as sort of like an Arctic hub, Limberwisk has always been favored by many across the world when it came to expeditions into the far north. For one, like Iceland, Limberwisk was very reluctant and decided to opt out of joining the EU, mostly due to fishing laws and societal policy issues. They figured that they would be the only ones that could truly understand how to manage and maintain their own state without an outside entity regulating their actions. Nonetheless, the EU maintains close trade deals, and they are still part of the European Economic Area and Council of Europe, but not the Schengen zone. Of course, due to their ethnic ties, Limberwisk has always had close ties to Norway, which was the historical main source of their Nordic ancestors. Nonetheless, they were never fully incorporated into the greater Norwegian kingdom and were independent since the early 11th century. Back in the 50s, after World War II, Limberwisk made interesting ties to Botswana and Tonga as they made cultural exchange programs that allowed citizens from the far reaches of the earth to study and work in Limberwisk. The program was so successful that the three nations created the BLT Alliance, which allows free trade and economic policies as well as extensive visa and citizenship laws that only apply to the three members. When it comes to their best friends, however, most Hush might say the people of Greenland, or the Danish constituent country of Greenland. As their closest cousins and relatives, most Hush visit and invest in Greenland as well as look up to them as the origin of their people. In fact, the name is a Hush pronunciation derived from the Greenlandic word for Greenlandic, Kalashit. In the end, Limberwisk is an Arctic powerhouse that doesn't even exist. like in any way, fashion, or form. If you are new to this channel and bought everything I just said, congratulations! You're my newest victim in this annual tradition I've been doing every year since this channel started.
Wow.
Happy April Fool's Day! Stay tuned, the Confederation of Patch Amberdash is coming up next.
Okay. Seems kind of new on some stuff. I mean, definitely when you have fruit that look like doo-doo. You have a whale that they like have as a coat or some crap. Then you have
Fur?
yeah, no, they had fur from another animal.
It wasn't a whale. They said they stopped eating whale.
Oh, that's weird. I still trying to figure out how he know any of these names.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Like, that was kind of new. Yeah. So far as that, I mean, you know, I wanted to say before we actually end this video, I wonder, since all these words say they heard it from the wind, if they hear it in the wind, it just make me wonder, what is the wind saying? If you hear the wind, what is it saying?
Nothing.
If they got something, they probably know what it's saying. Be kind of weird if the wind's making a certain noise. That's words. That's kind of crazy. But guys, y'all make sure y'all check this video out in the description below. Comment below and also donate below.
Make sure you guys subscribe to CJ Arena.
Like always, guys. Peace.
Bye.
I like the way she touch me, touch me, touch me, touch me. I like the way she fuck me, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me. Hit it, hit it, hit it, drop. Hit it, hit it, hit it.